She goes, what I'd like you to do is go see a neurologist who specializes in movement disorders. Well, I went, and they did a baseline study, and 3 months later, this curious twitch, this affliction, had a name, and it was Parkinson's. First thing on my mind, what can I do about it? I don't want to be a victim. I want to fight this thing. So I got involved doing clinical research. I was involved in 4 or 5 clinical researches. I put together charity fundraisers for American Parkinson's Association, National Parkinson's Association, Michael J. Fox, and others, and I try to do it a couple times a year over at the gym that I worked at. I was in the fitness industry for about 37 years, and it makes you feel good doing something about it. And by the way, everybody here can do something about it. You are doing something about it. You're exercising. You're doing something good for yourself. You want to do something more, get involved with clinical research. I mean, there's, what, 1.5 million people with Parkinson's just in the United States alone? Yep. Less than 1% get involved in clinical research. That's unacceptable. I mean,
Hummingbird?
Hummingbird? Oh, okay. My wife told me a story that kind of motivated me a while back. And there's a forest fire. And all the animals are running away from the forest fire. Except for a hummingbird. And a hummingbird would go back and forth with a little drop of water on its beak. And finally one of the animals stopped the hummingbird and said, "What are you doing? There's a fire." The hummingbird looked back and said, "I'm just doing my job. I'm doing my part." That's what we could do. We could all be hummingbirds. We can do our parts. We can get involved in clinical research. I know there's a lot of people that are afraid for different reasons, and we can talk about that later. But you do have options. Without clinical research, it's going to be difficult to find a cure.
There are no failed
And at least
studies.
we can do something in our lifetime. And if not our lifetime, maybe our kids' lifetime. But it has to be done. I've been involved in a lot of clinical research. It's never hurt. I've never had to stray off of the medications that I was on. There are rides available for most people. And they do it locally. Michael J. Fox has a terrific website that you can go on and find out and pick what studies you want to be involved with. So, be hummingbirds. Take it from there. After my DBS, my wife and I decided, yes, dear?
When did you have DBS?
Oh, July of this year. And it's very simple. It wasn't painful. And I was out the next morning. I came back the next week for they implanted the generator in my chest. And I was out that same day.
Why did you get DBS?
Why did I get DBS? Good question.
Tell us what it is.
Pardon me? DBS is deep brain stim, and Joey can talk to you a little bit more about that later. It's like a pacemaker for your brain.
Deep brain stimulation.
Exactly, deep brain stimulation, where they're running, here's a generator, they plant it in my chest, but they can plant it wherever you want, more or less. I wanted to scare people, put on my ankle and tell people I was on community control, but...
He would do that,
yeah,
too.
But this is where it typically goes.
Why
I didn't have to take any medications for pain or anything, not an aspirin, nothing.
Why
It was
did you
fine.
get it done?
To address my motor symptoms. Before this, I couldn't do that. I wouldn't eat in front of people because I would drop on my food. It's embarrassing. I didn't want to stand in front of people. For me,
You had a large amplitude tremor that really...
Oh, it was horrible. I had cramps, dystonia, dyskinesias, stiffness, bradykinesia, slowness, and pretty much that's all been addressed. Even my cognitive has changed. She'll tell you a little about, my wife will tell you a little bit about that.
How many meds were you taking?
You don't leave them any questions?
No.
About 30 a day.
Right.
Wow.
So,
Not 30 different pills. I might take the same pills 4 or 5 times, but at about 30 a day. Now I'm taking 4 or 5 total throughout the day.
Right.
And I'm getting tweaked later.
so you woke up from your DBS and decided to do a ride.
I swear this was not planned. We've never done this before. Yeah,
How old were
I
you
woke
when
up.
you got Parkinson's?
When I got Parkinson's, you never know. When I was diagnosed, I was about 49, and they call it young onset. And that's another problem. Doctors don't young onset. That's why I went through so many doctors. I don't know if it has to be at the convention level, at the medical school level, or what, but more doctors have to learn about young onset. I mean, what is it, 15, 20 years you're symptomatic even before they diagnose you? So, I think more doctors have to learn about early onset. More doctors have to get involved and stop scratching heads. And I almost underwent, they called it thoracic outlet syndrome. They were going to shave my clavicle, remove my upper rib.
True, that's true.
And just before that is when I went and saw my GP, and he said, no, Roy, the nurse, and she said, no, Roy, let's check this out first. Thank God.
And the reason the nurse, she had seen the symptoms of Parkinson's in her father-in-law, and she was the one that said, you should check this out. The doctor was ready to give him surgery.
Oh, yes. And I mean, who thinks okay, 30 years ago I couldn't sleep. Who thinks that could have anything to do with Parkinson's? Afterwards, I had that little twitch in my brain. Who thought that could have anything to do with doing nerve conduction tests, doing all kinds of things. Nobody knew it was Parkinson's. So finally, University of Miami, somebody figured it out. And thank God, because now I had a name for it. Now I can address it. I can do something about it. I'm not going to sit on my hands. It's a fight. We're going to, and that's what this is all about. That's what the ride is all about, is to bring awareness. It's nothing spectacular. It's not. I mean, we're riding at a decent pace. I'm not trying to kill the world. We're not doing 100 miles, 125 miles a day. We're doing 40, we're doing 50 a day. We're on the seat for 4 or 5 hours at a decent pace. It's nothing that's extraordinary. I'm not a big athlete.
I will say when they arrived yesterday, though, we were working in the gym, and it looked like they just got out of a car, and they had just finished a 40 or 50-mile bike ride. So
Well,
it made it look very easy.
thank you. I don't know how to respond to that. It's getting easier. Once you're on the flatlands as opposed to going through the mountains, this was much easier. And I think we had the wind to our back yesterday a little bit.
Yeah, it did help.
And Carl and Lisa and everybody's been so terrific. And the guys over at Pops Ride escorted us in for the last 50 miles. And the 70 or 80 miles before that. And that was tough. 2 days ago was tough, going through the desert. They had all kinds of storms and
cold and wind and
thank God he broke out the tandem bike and helped me through it.
Right.
Could you talk about where you've been and kind of what you do when do you stay in tents? Do you...
Okay, I sold almost everything we had. And for me, it's all about quality of life. Just why, the same reason I had the DBS. It's for quality of life. And I'm not going to wait till it's last resort. Like this gentleman, you were asking, isn't it last resort? No, it's not last resort. Number one, it's reversible. Okay, so if we do find a cure in 2 years, 3 years, we take it out. There was the local chapter, president of the chapter down in Yuma, who 6 or 8 years ago had the DBS done.
Don't talk
Well,
about that.
found out DBS.
He didn't have Parkinson's.
So they removed it. He's good. And okay.